Hi, Amy.
Happy.
Last night we watched 90 Day Fiancé Season 11, Episode 8. Did you like it, Amy?
I'm not quite sure. It's difficult to make an assessment. I feel like a lot of what we saw was just it was so contrived and not much was believable. So I'm not sure if I enjoyed it or not. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts were repetition. There's so much repeated patterns of not just this bunch of characters, but previous bunch of 90 Day Fiancé cast members. So I was like, haven't I already seen this? Haven't we already talked about this? Just a little bit disappointed. Nevertheless, we have lots to discuss.
We
And
do.
before we do, let's do our 1, 2, 3. Number 1, rate, review, and follow us wherever you listen to the podcast, please. 2, watch the podcast on YouTube at 90 Day Fiancé Honestly. 3, our subscriber-only content is currently paused for the month of April, and it's free. So that seems like a bit of a contradiction. We are releasing some episodes in April covering the Last Resort Tell-All, after which we will be paused.
Yes, we will.
Shall we dig in?
I mean, Shawn, we might as well. I'm
Fortunately,
sorry.
she's not on this one. That's tomorrow night.
She always says, "Okay, we've got a lot to unpack here. Let's do it." Then we just don't talk about it. But at least we
Never.
talk about things.
It's such a tease. Let's talk about Shekinah and Sarper.
Huh?
She's praising him for the way that he handled her friends the night before, which was nice of her to do.
And I think it also highlights the fact that she did absolutely nothing to support Sarper in that situation. She just sat back and let it happen. Kind of like Jessica and Megin when Megin was going at Juan, just doing nothing, but then talking about it later.
I thought it was nice of Sarper that he acknowledged that he could understand the situation from her perspective. So she didn't want to make a scene in front of her friends. They're her friends. She wants everybody to get along. So therefore, she's not going to defend Sarper or cause a scene. I thought it was big of him to do that. But he does say also that if it happens again with Dan, obviously, that he may not be able to control himself in the way that he did the previous night. So Shekinah is forewarned, which is fair.
Yeah, I think so. I'm proud of him for telling her his boundaries, and I think that they're very reasonable. And I think it would be reasonable for him to not be so kind the next time around. So
it would also be reasonable for Shekinah to have a private discussion with Dan and say, hey, what's up with you going after my fiance? Ease up a bit. He's just trying to fit in. Can't you just be a little bit more welcoming?
She can have that conversation. I just can't see it going well. He doesn't care enough because apparently he's in love with her and he wants to be with her and Sarper's not good enough for her. And you know what? I think in best case scenario, Sarper goes home. He's not with Shekinah anymore. And then Shekinah and Dan are free to be together.
What a happy ending that would be.
Oh, God.
Anyway, now that the hurdle is done, next is for him to meet Sofie, Shekinah's daughter. So the two of them fly off to San Jose to go see Sofie at her boarding school. And we should note, Sofie has not yet agreed to this meeting. So mom is really respecting her daughter's wishes and going according to Sofie's pace. Not.
I could appreciate it up to a point because she said that up until now, she hasn't wanted to meet him because of the family bickering and all their
gossip.
Yeah. And that makes me feel so bad for Sarper because we've seen the progression of his personality and his character throughout this whole thing, and it's been very impressive.
Yeah.
And this poor kid is just getting one version of the events, which is typically how it happens. But also, why can't the kid be a kid? But also, she's not really a kid. How old is she?
Oh, well, she's got to be in high school. I would put her at 16, somewhere around there.
Okay, well, she seems very mature from what we've seen of her. So I can appreciate the fact that Shekinah is letting her work at her own pace, but I also wonder if she's even had this conversation with her. Because when she meets up with her daughter, it wasn't, we've spoken about this before, about you meeting him when he comes here. It's all about, how about now?
Yeah, I was really confused by a couple of things. First of all, why is it only that Sofie has Shekinah's family's opinion as her guide to who Sarper is? Why hasn't she had an opinion of Sarper related to her by Shekinah herself? Where's that? Does Shekinah just not stick up for her boyfriends, whether it pertains to her friends or her family? Seems odd.
Do they not just talk about it at all?
Yeah, it just seems very strange. And then the other thing that I wondered about was, given Shekinah is disregarding Sofie's wishes and bringing Sofie and Sarper together right now, do you think that she would actually follow through with her promise to not marry Sarper if Sofie doesn't like Sarper. She seems to be disregarding Sofie's opinion no matter which way you look at it.
I would like to think that she would follow through with her promise to her child. However, we've seen how incredibly selfish Shekinah is, so I wouldn't be surprised if she just married Sarper anyway. I feel bad for everyone involved except for Shekinah. Just because of the position that she's put them in, Sarper coming in with this really unfortunate living situation. The kid hasn't met him yet. Why hasn't she brought the kid over to Turkey when she was living there for a couple months? Why couldn't the kid just take a little bit of a trip? Or, even meeting on video chat? Why haven't they done that? There's so much that she could have done to completely circumvent this big issue. Maybe it's a production thing. Maybe they're not allowed to meet until it's on camera. Whatever. There's still ways to get around that. But she did nothing. I don't know. I feel really bad for Sarper and for the kid. She's not being given all the information, and I also feel like she kind of is almost giving her kid too much control over her own life.
Over Sofie's life?
No.
Or over Shekinah's life?
Over Shekinah's life. Because she's built this relationship with Sarper knowing she has a child. And now, after however many years, it comes down to this one meeting.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair to anyone involved.
No. And is she doing this as a reaction against her past behavior? Because we find out that in the past, Shekinah has always put her boyfriend, man, companion, whatever you want to call it, above Sofie, which has put Sofie in a difficult position over the years. So perhaps she's been hiding Sarper and keeping him away from Sofie, not as a secret, but just not allowing them to have any contact whatsoever because she's trying to protect Sofie. But I'm not sure if I believe that. I mean, given this pattern that Shekinah has in the past of choosing the man over Sofie, how likely is it that she's going to change the paradigm and put Sofie first? If Sofie doesn't get along with Sarper, I don't see Shekinah saying, okay, Sarper, bye-bye. My daughter said no.
You know what? I actually see Sarper being the person of reason and saying, you know what, your daughter doesn't like me. If she doesn't, we don't know how it turns out. But if she doesn't like him, Sarper saying, I can't get married to you if your daughter doesn't accept me. And Shekinah being like, oh, no, it's okay. If that's how it goes. I can see him walking away because of it. I can't predict what Shekinah would do.
Yeah. Anyway, they meet at the spa, and I've got a kick out of that because how much more privileged can you be? The daughter's at a boarding school. Mom and her boyfriend fly down to go see her over the weekend, and mom and daughter go get pedicures together. Nice lifestyle if you can get it.
I can confidently say that I have never had a manicure or a pedicure with my mother.
Good to know.
But it's nice to see them bonding and getting along and having open communication. I think that's quite wonderful. But I found it quite shocking that she didn't know that Sarper was there.
Yeah. There's all kinds of contradictions here that just don't add up.
Yeah. Where's the heads up? Because, putting myself in the daughter's position, if my mom ever came out, if my mom was kind of just like, oh, hey, remember that man that I'm engaged to from Turkey? Yeah, he's here now, and he's also at the hotel. Would you kindly meet him? Like, it's just so ridiculous. Like, you're throwing so much at her all at once. Yeah. Now, I think she's lucky that Sofie said that she would be okay to meet him. I think that was great. Honestly, I think Sofie seems so well-adjusted, so mature, so far removed from her mother. It was a nice interaction. I'll say that.
Totally. I enjoyed it as well. I'm really happy that Sofie agreed to go meet Sarper. This is a good first step, but also very unusual that they haven't at least had some kind of video chat communication in the past, which is so bizarre.
It doesn't seem like there's any kind of like linear trajectory going on here.
No. One final note. Sarper, while Shekinah and Sofie are meeting at the spa, goes to see the sea lions and he wants to pet them. I'm so happy. I mean, we've had house cows and now sea lions with Sarper. This is delightful.
His reaction is so pure and like it's infectious. You could really feel how excited he is about the sea lions and him acknowledging, I'd really like to get in there and just cuddle with them, but they'll probably bite me, so I'm not going to do that. Like he seems so fun, which is such a contradiction to Shekinah. He's got this childlike wonder, which I think I mentioned with the house cows, and he just seems so exciting and excited, and I'm disappointed that Shekinah wasn't there to share that experience with him, because I think that would be a fun experience to share with your partner. Also, I think it was more beneficial that he has that memory without her, if I may.
Nasty. All right, shall we move on?
Please.
Let's go to Matt, Amani, and Any, who are doing a winery tour. I think this is going to be quick. Wow, things are so awkward. Somebody goes and pulls flowers out of a vase at the winery. Weird.
Amani or Minnie does. It was so rude and it was so messy, and they look like carnations. Come on.
She's staring at both Ani and Matt like she's plotting their murder. It does not feel happy. It does not feel light, nice, any of those
Safe?
things. No.
You're in a wine cellar 10 feet below ground right now.
Nobody can hear you scream. Right. So Amani says she feels basically like a third wheel. We've heard this before many times. When is she going to stop saying this? She wants to be presented as Ani's girlfriend. We've heard this before. Also many times. Please change your tune, Amani. It's getting boring. She wants to have everything out in the open now, which we already knew. Thank you very much. Repetition. So that she can feel acknowledged. Okay, fine. But it's up to Ani. It's her family. She has to do it in her own time. She knows what their reactions may or may not be. She's familiar with them. You aren't. Why are you making this all about you? It's all totally understandable and reasonable, especially given Ani's family's background, which is deeply rooted in Catholicism.
Yes. Amina says that she's glad that
Amani?
they established Amani. Thank you. Sorry, it's the Amina and the Mina and Ani. Anyway, she says that she's really glad that they set down the rules. And my question is, what rules? And then she says probably the most true and valid thing that she's ever said in her entire life, which was, we can't move forward without the uncomfortableness. And I have to agree with that, because growth occurs in the discomfort. However, I don't think she's intelligent enough to actually put that into fruition and, do quite literally anything about it. But it really bothered me when she was like, she just started going off. Oh, she doesn't understand where Ani is coming from with her family, the whole dynamic. She just wants to be front and center, main character situation here. And I feel like at this point you could really feel Ani pulling away.
Yeah. Yeah, who wouldn't? This is crazy. Amani's behaving like a petulant child. She walks away at a huff. It's a big dramatic scene. She's whining about how she wants to go home to her daughters, who we have not heard of since they first left. But now they come up, oh, I miss my girls so much. I just want to go home to my girls. Sure, fine. She goes away and crouches. I don't know if it was a doorway or what exactly it was. It was very dark, hard to see. She crouches and cries on the floor, basically. I felt that she was incredibly unstable in this moment, and her face is completely dry. She's not actually crying. There were no tears.
Yes, I noticed that too.
Eyes were not red. There was no swelling around them. Her voice was still strong. She wasn't like cracking because there's so much emotion. It was all fake.
And there was no snot.
No mucus.
No snot. No.
No.
It seemed so strange when they were having that conversation, because she kept pushing at her, like, have you not told anyone that you're in a serious relationship? No, I haven't. Oh, no, the world is ending. Again, she doesn't understand the world that Ani is living in. She's not trying to understand this, and she's trying to push this narrative and this relationship. She's trying to stick the square peg into a round hole. Is really what it feels like. This is so uncomfortable and not in a discomfort growth situation. It's just grow up.
Totally agree with you. I think that it's impossible for Amani to have any perception of life other than her own. She can't see anything from Ani's perspective. She can't understand anybody else's situation. If it's outside of herself, she's just completely self-involved and selfish.
I think she's only losing her absolute A, because she's not the main character, and B, because I think she can actually see the fact that Ani and Matt could get along and could be together, and then she's the outcast.
Yeah. That is definitely a threat for her, and she takes that very seriously. She wants to be the one that the other two always come to. We talked about this before with a triangulated relationship. It's very, very difficult to maintain, but she definitely wants to be at the apex of the triangle with the other two reporting to her, relying on her, and getting permission from her.
Just so gross. Though I appreciated that Ani was trying to protect herself by, not telling everyone all the things, because I think that she had the forethought that maybe this could blow up in my face, so I'm not going to tell everyone, Because what if it doesn't work out? And then she's outed in her family,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I feel like she's trying to protect herself to do what's best for her. So I'm really proud of her that way. But something else I wanted to note was Amina's incessant talking and the speed of her speech reminded me very much of Holly. Do you remember her? The one with the super, super, super long extensions who kept
Yes.
running away in South Africa. Yeah, we talked about the drug use there. I'm not saying that she's on drugs. It reminded me of
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ani goes on about how she loves Amina more than
Amani.
Amani. I'm sorry. I can't get them straight. Not today.
I thought that was a very smart move when she's confessed that actually she's in the relationship for Amani and not for Matt, that Amani is her primary love target, if you will. I think in that moment, she might have recognized that Amani is the deciding voice. So she's the
Yeah.
one who has the control. So she needs to appease Amani in order to keep the peace, in order to keep the relationship together.
Which makes you wonder what's her actual goal. Is her
Yeah.
goal to be in the relationship, or is her goal to get the green card and move to the States?
As always, this is the eternal question on Nanny Day.
It's the question. I don't think it's true. I think she was just saying it to be copacetic. Is that the right word?
To keep things copacetic, to keep the
Yes.
peace. Yeah,
Thank you.
I think so
Yes.
too. I think she was being strategic. That
Yes.
may not be the way that she actually feels. She was just saying it in order to smooth things over and to calm down the situation, which it achieved.
Yes, I agree.
Reading on, Stevie and Mahdi, they go to the gym. This was cute. This was another moment of intense culture shock for Mahdi to be working out side by side with women. Stevie was so incredibly threatened by the woman who was using the same machine as Mahdi. And then she scurries over to Mahdi and makes him put his arm around her. Very transparent, quite funny.
And sad.
Yes. Again, we don't know her past. If we had some inkling of what this previous marriage was all about and what happened, that would be so useful to know. Because right now we're just seeing this desperate, lonely woman who has virtually no self-esteem.
Yeah. We see a lot more of that throughout this episode, but
Oh my gosh.
we will get to that.
We'll dig in. We'll come back to that later. Let's go talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
something else now.
All right, about the paintings.
Okay, let's talk about the paintings.
And so Mahdi brings up that, there's a lot of nude women in her apartment, a lot of paintings of nude women, and he asks her if she's bisexual.
Mhm.
My good Lord, the deflection, the side eye, even in the interview, she couldn't hold eye contact with anyone, and she refused to answer the question.
Yeah, I bet you a psychiatrist would have a field day with that reaction. It was something.
It was so defensive and telling.
Well, for me, the most telling part of all was the fact that she admits Daddy Redneck has also asked her this question.
Shit, I must have missed that.
Her own dad has asked her if she's bisexual based on all of these paintings. Something is up.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
I mean, she could be completely closeted and she doesn't want to acknowledge it herself. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not her. I think Maddie's position is I can't marry you if you are bisexual. Completely understandable. However, the fact that she's not giving him all the information, she's not being truthful, is going to be problematic. And I feel like this situation, him saying I can't marry you if you're bisexual, is kind of the way that it comes out with her saying I can't marry you if you want to go back home.
Yeah, yes.
So now it's all conflicting, and now both of them have points of contention that may or may not impact the future of their relationship.
Yes. It's like they both need to have an escape hatch, but they're both manipulating each other to stand on that escape hatch. And I will pull the lever to make you fall through that hole in the floor if you give me the wrong answer. And her not saying whether or not she's bisexual, it says so much. I mean, not only have we seen that she's incredibly insecure in her relationship with Mahdi, she thinks other women may try to get him. She doesn't want him to be a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
When he floats that idea, she's not very happy about it at all.
But I appreciated the fact that he took her over to the pulley machine and he starts teaching her how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that that was his way of showing her that he can be a good coach and he can be helpful.
Yeah.
And it's not about training a beautiful woman. It's about, helping them achieve whatever goals that they can achieve. I thought that was a nice attempt on his behalf, although I feel like it fell on dead ears.
Totally did. Yeah, she's not in a place where she can hear this kind of talk, where she can appreciate this kind of gesture and see it as what it was supposed to be, which was a comforting move.
Mhm. Yeah, no. Instead, while she's doing it, she's probably thinking, oh, my butt's not as nice as hers. I'm not as pretty as her. I'm not as thin as her. Super, super low self esteem, which I understand, especially when you're at the gym. Like, you want to
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about a place that's going to make you feel bad about yourself if you're not in the right headspace. That's perfect.
Back
Anyway,
to Mahdi's concern about the bisexuality, I think it's totally legit. Him wanting to know, are you bisexual or not? Because if we get married in the future, you may one day say to me, you're not enough. I want a woman in my life as well, or instead of you, because I crave that as well. I think it's a reasonable question, a reasonable concern.
it most definitely is. And also a stark contrast to Sofie and Rob when Rob
Yeah.
was actually excited about it. Well, first of all, he pretended to be mad, but then you could tell the wheels were turning and he's, oh, this could potentially be great. But that's not something that Maddie wants. And I think he communicated that so very clearly to her. And I'm proud of him for standing up for his values and his boundaries. Here we are with the boundaries again. But I thought he communicated it very well.
Agreed. He is a really good communicator. I appreciate that about him.
He seems to be very emotionally intelligent and compassionate and thoughtful and kind. And I feel like Stevie is the exact opposite. I think she has the emotional intelligence of a Skittle.
Again with the Skittles.
Did I say that before?
Yeah, last week I think it was a red Skittle.
Yeah, somebody mentioned it online, and now it's the only thing I can really think of when I think about stuntedness. Because what kind of emotional capacity can a Skittle have? I
Yes.
don't know, but just like the idea behind it makes me laugh.
All right, let's move on to their date night. Stevie wants Mahdi to paint her bum, right? So apply paint to my bum, and then she would rub her bum or imprint her bum onto the canvas.
Something to that effect.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do that. So instead, she paints up one of his arms and presses his bicep onto a canvas so that now we have a painting of his arm.
Well, I can appreciate the sentiment. I think that the painting together could be fun. We've seen that in Married at First Sight a couple times.
Mhm.
But I think that this was so incredibly lost in translation.
Yeah.
Though I actually think that the painting turned out, I mean, we only saw a bit of it, but I really liked the imprint and I liked the way that she was kind of filling it in, and I really liked where I think it was going. I liked it.
Okay. Maybe Stevie could sell you the painting.
Or I could just
Anyway.
make it myself because obviously. Sorry. Anyway.
Okay. So when they have this discussion after the painting session, it's about the upcoming marriage because Mahdi has discovered that the prices for changing his resident status are going to go up soon. So if they get married within the next 2 weeks, they will save $2,000, which is, wow, significant. But now we're going to come to Stevie's little caveat. She wants reassurance that if they get married quickly, Mahdi is going to stay, that it's forever, that it's going to last, that there's nobody else. She's the one. I mean, every kind of cliche you can think of. You can't know 100% when you marry somebody that it's going to last forever. You can have every intention, but how can you give somebody 100% complete reassurance? I am with you forever. What if they start stabbing you in the middle of the night? What if they start poisoning you? What if they start sleeping with other people?
And what if you just don't get along?
What if you discover that they have an allergy to cats and they tell you that you have to get rid of your cat? No, the cats
the amount of
come
people
first.
that I would get rid of before I would ever get rid of my cats. It would be literally everyone. I
Exactly.
would never get rid of my cats for anyone. And then she comes up and she says, every time you talk to your parents and you're a different person, and
She says that it puts a strain on their relationship. every time he talks to them. What?
Do you not think that him moving there is a strain in and of itself, and
Hmm.
he's talking to his parents because he misses them and he's keeping them updated on where he is and he's being open and honest about how he feels about the whole thing? Why wouldn't you support that?
Why wouldn't you support that? Okay, well, let's flip it around because I think that's the most interesting way to look at this conversation.
Okay,
She
let's do it.
said to him, you talking to your family is, in effect, destroying our relationship. It's making things untenable. And I
Right.
don't have the reassurance that I need because you're talking to your family so often that you're not going to want to leave because I know you miss them. If it was a man and the woman had come to the United States and she was talking to her family in Iran and he was saying to her, I don't want you talking to your family as often because it's causing problems. It makes me feel like you don't want me as much and I'm worried that you're going to go back to them. If that was the case, we would be up in arms saying this guy's controlling, he's selfish, he's trying to isolate her. Worse than that, he's probably trying to put her in a situation where he can just entirely indoctrinate her so that she will be exactly the way that he wants her to be.
That's exactly where I went. When she
Yeah.
said, I don't want you to talk to your family as much, I was like, is it as much or is it at all? This to
And
me feels like isolation. This is manipulation. This is extremely, extremely unhealthy and toxic.
totally, totally. And the way that he even says to her to confirm, are you telling me that you want me to talk to my family less often? Or are you telling me not to talk to my family? And she says, oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying don't talk to them as often. Like, that is the
I'm
same thing.
just saying.
That's the same thing. You're just using different words. It's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. You don't want him to talk to his family, to his lifeline back home, to his only support system outside of you. You want him to rely on you for absolutely everything so he doesn't have the
Yeah.
opportunity to pick up and leave because she's so, I want to say, empty inside. The lack of confidence and
Yeah.
probably the lack of comfort within herself.
It's
Probably
so
the
many
same
things
thing.
lacking, like lacking of compassion towards him to understand that he does miss his family and this will pass. It will
Yeah.
get better. But that she can't even approach the marriage through that lens of things are going to change, things are going to improve. It's, I want to know right now, 100%, that you're committed, that you're going to stay, that your family isn't going to pull you away from me, and you have to make a show or a display of making a change so that I feel reassured. Therefore, stop talking to your family as much. Horrific.
Yeah. How about no?
And the way that she frames it as, I have a decision in whether or not we get married too. Why do you have to one up your fiance on who has the power to marry or not marry? That seems very toxic.
Yeah, that's the maturity coming through right there.
But the interesting thing about this whole situation is that because she brings this up and it is so transparent, and Mahdi, as we've already stated, is definitely emotionally intelligent and reads the subtext of these kinds of conversation, it casts doubt on his confidence in their relationship, which I think is really good because now he's asking questions that he does need to ask. Is she the right one for him? Is she going to support him? Is this going to be an equitable and compassionate and comforting, to use your word, relationship?
I had hope at the very beginning when he said, if I went back, would you support it? And she said yes.
Mm-hmm.
But now we can see that all unraveling. She
Not so
didn't mean
much.
it
Nope.
in the moment. And now we can see how much this is going to unravel, or at least we can predict it.
Yeah. I think Mahdi has enough emotional intelligence that he'll be able to carry her in their relationship, in their marriage, and that perhaps if she's introspective at all, she will learn to become more secure because he's going to give her the kind of support that she needs, and she will overcome whatever this insecurity is that she has that's built into her from her previous marriage or just from who she is, how she was brought up. I think there is the possibility for her to grow, but Mahdi's going to be the one who's going to lead her because she can't do it on her own.
Her growth is going to be contingent upon his support and him pushing. Because not only are we seeing her unravel when it comes to her self-esteem and, her trying to isolate him from his family. And as you said, we know nothing about her life before this, her marriage. We know nothing about her. But let's not forget the anxiety she had going over the bridges.
Yeah.
So it's just so multifaceted, and we don't have enough information to be able to predict what her next step is going to be. And where is she coming from? Where do we get this understanding of her behavior and her approach to this relationship? What is going on with this woman? What is production hiding from us? And will we ever find out?
I don't know. And I want to know. Somebody tell me.
Yeah, it would be nice if she was like, oh, this or that, this happened. Or, maybe the sleuths on Reddit will figure out what happened, because I feel like that's how we found out about, what was her name? The one with Rory.
Bea.
Yes, they found out what happened with her previously. So it was through
Yeah.
that we could gain an understanding of her behavior and her character.
Yeah.
We haven't found anything like that yet.
Not yet.
Also, thank
Not
you to
yet.
the sleuths on Reddit for being able to figure that out. I greatly appreciate that. It's
Yes, they're such a great source, especially for people like Sam and Citra. When we were finding out about Sam's past, and that informed a lot of how we were watching him and interpreting his behavior. I would love it if somebody who knew her ex-husband or knew of their marriage could give us some insight, because I think there may be something really key there that will start explaining who Stevie is.
And not just that, but will give us the opportunity to allow us to have more compassion for her. Because at this point, she seems so incredibly one-dimensional. And I'd like to think that there's more to her than what we've seen thus far, but I might be incredibly too positive for that.
No, never. Never, never, never. Reading on, Mark and Mina are next. My first note is that Mark is starting to get it. He's starting to get the idea that maybe Mina feels attacked. Maybe she feels like his whole family is ganging up on her, and that perhaps he should do something about it. But his answer to do something about it is to just sort of generally say to the family, you guys should really get on board. Okay, that's kind of sort of something.
Because we love each other.
Yay. Yay. But he doesn't actually directly do anything. He says this, and then it's up to his mom to go and talk to Mina and to try to bring about peace again. So grandma goes to talk to Mina. She brings along Jordan. She plays the mediator.
Before she pulls Jordan in,
Yes.
she says, I understand that you might feel attacked at this point. Understand that it's just a family that cares, or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, it's not against you. But then who is it against?
Right.
I can appreciate the fact that she wants to step in, or feels the need to step in, because obviously Mark's doing F all. I don't think she used the correct terminology or the correct words. I think she was just making excuses for the entire family, and was just like, it's one of those, like, they are who they are. Now
Yeah.
let's try to get on the same page. And then she pulls Jordan in, and I can appreciate her ability to mediate, or at least her attempt to mediate.
Yeah. I appreciate the attempt. I don't think that it was all that successful in the end. It was
Yes.
a nice first step.
Mhm.
More work needs to be done, but this was somewhat positive. What happens is that Jordan asks for the apology over the snake comment. So she's right up there out front. I want an apology. This is what I feel I deserve.
I'm taking control of this now.
And were you not listening, Jordan? Because Mina just apologized to you, and now you're asking her to apologize again. Okay, whatever. Perhaps she didn't hear the first apology. And then Mina also, as a secondary step, this is all the work is on Mina's side, apparently.
Yes.
Jordan is allowed to come to the wedding. She confirms that. And then it's Jordan's turn. Would you care to recall Jordan's words when she apologizes to Mina?
I don't remember what her words were at all.
She offers the world's most profound and best apology ever. Always starts with, I apologize if I hurt you, caused pain, etc., etc. If I hurt you. So there we go. We do not acknowledge the fact that we actually did cause pain. We say, if there was, which is entirely your perception. So therefore, you are clearly crazy. I am not. So there was no real need for an apology. But I'm going to make a show of making an apology. And good for Mina. She sniffs it out right away. She says that she doesn't feel like this is a genuine apology. And sure as shit, it is not. This is not the apology that Mina wanted. She probably wanted something pretty grand and elaborate. Good luck getting anything close to that. But I do think that she deserved a heartfelt apology, something real.
Something that would give her enough to give her hope that
Yeah.
there could be some resolution, there could be some growth, there could be some possibility of civility in the future. My comment regarding the apology was that Mina 100% needs to be on the defensive now, because we can see what Jordan's actual intent is and
Yeah.
how far she's willing to push it. And I thought from Grandma's perspective, that was really uncalled for her to be like, okay, so can Jordan come to the wedding now? Like, we've cleared all this up now, and yet the waters are so muddy, and yet let's find this common ground.
Grandma is not all that helpful. And I think we saw a sneak peek of that last week when she was saying that she actually appreciated Mina and everything was fine when they were in Paris, even though the rest of the family was all pointing to
Everyone else.
yeah, to the very disturbing things that had gone on in Paris with regards to Mina's behavior. So I think Grandma wants to smooth things over so much that she doesn't really pay attention to the details. She just wants everybody to move forward and forget about it.
It's all about complacency. Again, with that
Yeah.
word.
Yeah. So Mina does, to her credit, accept the non-apology. She wants to smooth things over. She wants there to be peace. So everything is okay for the moment. It's important to note, I think, that Mark has not lifted a finger to remedy this situation at this point. So he's a lucky
Which
guy.
makes me wonder what happened in his last relationship.
Yeah.
Was his last wife so sick of cleaning up his messes that she just left?
He does seem very hands off.
So she had to do all of the child rearing, all of the household duties, probably even the financing, 100% of
Maybe.
the emotional chores.
That's what I was thinking, that he just likes people to fix things on their own devices, not mobile devices, but with their own tools. And he doesn't play a part really in making sure that that process is ongoing or communicating with the person. Is it resolved? How can I help? What can I do? How can we make it better?
He's like the hands-off CEO who just expects everyone below him to get things done without knowing what's going on. You do your job, and if I hear anything about it, it means somebody's not doing their job, and it's also your job to clean it up, even if I've caused it. So he's almost like freelancing at this point. He gets to do what he wants to do. Everyone else cleans up his mess.
Yeah.
Must be a lovely life to live with no responsibilities.
That's why I said he's a very lucky guy. And I don't think Mina is happy at all with the situation. Her demeanor is very, very different from what we've seen over the past few episodes. She's very sad. She's quiet. She's like somebody who has realized that something is very, very wrong in their life, but they're not quite sure what to do about it. So she's tentative, she's quiet, she's thoughtful, but also something is bad, something is rotten, and she knows it.
I feel like my opinion of her has
Shifted?
slightly changed. Yeah, because she's not as combative as she was previously. And I thought she was just a gold digger. She was here for the green card. But I feel like if she was, she would be fighting a lot harder in this situation, and or she just wouldn't care. Like, oh, yeah, you just throw out the apologies like they're candy at Halloween,
Yeah.
and just whatever. Just keep everyone quiet because she's going to get what she wants. But she actually seems like upset
Disturbed.
about this whole thing. Yeah. So there is an emotional involvement there. And I think that it's given us a little more insight into who she is, a little bit about her intention, and that there actually is something there with her and Mark. This isn't green card opportunity. This is an opportunity for a new life with a person that she actually loves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, perhaps, but that
I agree. I totally have also shifted in my opinion of her, and I think she's more complex than we initially gave her credit for. I
and a
think,
lot more intelligent.
yes. And I think
Yeah.
Mark is changing as well in how we perceive him, because we thought initially he might be the victim in all of this, but really he's not facilitating resolutions or solutions to anything that's gone wrong so far. He's causing the problems. He's not fixing them. He's not helping anybody to fix them.
Nah, he's weak. He's like the cement gargoyle that people used to be afraid of, and then throughout the 100 years of acid rain and whatever, he just starts crumbling, and then they're less
Scary.
scary. Yeah.
Well, Mina is definitely not afraid to bring up the topic of the prenup again once they get off the fairy.
I was so proud of her for actually doing that and so quickly. She didn't let it fester. It wasn't one of those things where she goes to bed angry and she doesn't tell him why, and then she gives him the cold shoulder the next day. No, she actually talks about it and she says flat out, no, no, I'm second guessing that. She just says no. Like, good for you.
Yes, good for her to stand up for herself if that's what she wants to stand up for in this moment. Here's a really easy solution that Mark could employ, which would totally resolve the issue, I think, and which is so simple for him to do. He just needs to take her to see a lawyer so she can get some peace of mind as to what exactly the rules and regulations of marriage and divorce are in Massachusetts and whether or not this prenup is really going to be whatever she thinks it is going to be for her, a security blanket. Just let her talk to somebody.
She hasn't seen anything. She has no knowledge of it. She doesn't know what's in it. It could be 100% towards his benefit. She doesn't know. And the fact that she's acknowledged that she doesn't know adds more credence to her intelligence. Because it's the stupid ones that think that they know all the things. So I think that's wonderful for her. And for her to say, I'm not signing a damn thing, that should be when he, as you said, steps in and said, okay, let's go see the lawyer. Let's talk about this together. Let's work through this together. Typically with prenups, there's a requirement, at least from what I've seen, that you have to obtain independent legal advice and or sign off on not obtaining it. Because in Ontario, probably Canada, is if you don't obtain independent legal advice, that the clauses contained within the contract are less likely to be enforceable because you didn't get the legal advice, so you don't specifically understand everything that's going on in the contract and the impact to you, your finances, and to your future.
Great. Shall we read on?
I want to talk about that more, but yes.
Shawn and Alliya. Alliya has a big, big problem this morning. She cannot use her toothbrush anymore. She needs a new one. The current one has been infected by germs from the toilet, swirling about the bathroom and landing on her toothbrush, which apparently was at the wrong angle during the course of the evening.
It wasn't covered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the bristles were up. They weren't down.
Yeah, but even if they were down.
I know. Whatever.
I don't understand this part at all. Did she not use it the night before? Where did she put it? Did he move it? Like, was it safe before he moved it? Or like,
does his toilet not have a lid? You can actually put the lid down before you flush the toilet and then avoid all that spewing of bacterial matter into the bathroom. Easy. Hello.
But not everyone does that. And she didn't say that. It seems so strange. Where did she put her toothbrush? Why is this an issue now? You can go to the nearest drugstore, which they do. They buy new toothbrushes, or at least her a new one, and with the cover. Now, my issue with the cover is, how often are you sanitizing this cover? Because you brush your teeth with the germs. Even if you run it under water afterwards, it still contains germs. You put it in the little thing, the germs fester in this enclosed environment. Like, the depiction of her OCD just doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
No.
she can't get into the bed because she's wearing dirty clothes, and yet she puts her suitcase on the bed.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know about the suitcase thing until you told me. And then I was like, that's nasty. So how is that a thing?
Yeah. And I've had many a dentist or hygienist tell me not to use those little travel cases for your toothbrush exactly for that reason. It's the environment stays moist and humid within the box, and bacteria loves that and it grows. So it's best to have it outside a box where the toothbrush can dry overnight. And if she's so concerned about toilet bacteria, just close the freaking lid. If she used to be a nurse, she should know this stuff. It's kind of basic. It just seems really bizarre.
No, it's just the way that the production is framing it. Shawn didn't know how bad her OCD was. And yet, how many times did he go and visit her, and how long was she there for? I think this is all completely and utterly contrived because her OCD doesn't mesh with my understanding of the illness and the progression.
Okay. So they go to the drugstore, they get the necessary materials to assuage her fear of dental bacteria, microbiology, infection with Ebola virus. I really don't know. They buy a lovely stuffy dog toy, though, which is sweet.
Oh, that giant carrot. You want to talk about the metaphor in there?
In the giant carrot?
The dangling carrot?
Yes.
Sorry, please continue.
They also buy what? An STD test kit, Or is it an HIV test kit?
It's an HIV test kit.
Okay, so obviously we have somebody or somebodies not using protection with their other partners. Does this mean, since the relationship was established as open in last season, because it was a shock to Alliya that they were in an open relationship, that she is now sleeping with other people too? She seems to be taking tests on a regular basis. She said she took about 7 of them in the last year.
Well, Shawn seems to think that her need to take all these tests are coming from, like, she scratched her finger, her dentist cut her
Yeah.
mouth, or something, something, something. So none of it has anything to do with
Sexual transmission?
yeah. And I found this so strange because, first of all, we don't know whether or not they're having safe sex. I think it's reasonable, whether or not you have safe sex yourself, to take regular tests to ensure that you're safe, because obviously condoms they're not 100% effective. So that's fair to be cautious and to be healthy. I don't think that's completely unreasonable. And yeah, I don't know the answer as to whether or not they're being safe.
It just bothers me that they're bringing this up again. We did touch on it in a previous episode. We touched on it a lot in the last season. And now it seems like, okay, they are both agreed to the open relationship. He's definitely sleeping with other people. Is she? Unclear. But then she asks if Shawn is going to be monogamous now that she's in the United States, which was the plan. Once she comes to the US, they have to be monogamous because she's there. Shawn says, "Oh, yes, I will be monogamous as long as we're intimate and I'm happy." So he has just moved the goalposts.
That's exactly what I put in my notes. He has now changed the goalpost. They'll be monogamous if he's sexually content. And that's not what he told her. That's not how this went in the past at all. He's changing the trajectory of this whole thing, because first he doesn't know if he wants to get married. He doesn't really have to because he's already done it before. And now he's being so flaky about the relationship in its entirety. The marriage, the open relationship, Alliya needs to get out.
She has some pretty serious questions for him, though. One of them is, are you going to continue to be attracted to me if I make surgical changes to my body? This is something, again, that came up in the previous season. And he doesn't really have an answer. I didn't feel like that there was anything concrete there. There was no absolute reassurance. Yes, I will love you no matter what. If you want to do the operations, I will love you. If you don't want to do them, I will love you. There wasn't any of that, was there?
No, I felt like it added credence to the fact that he wanted to be with a man because he fell in love with Douglas, and he claimed he did fall in love with Douglas. And now we can see this, coming full circle. The issues with the dead name, he doesn't see Alliya as woman because she still has a penis. So he associates the name with the genitals. So because she still has a penis, she's still Douglas in his mind. So if she does get the gender affirming, thank you, surgery, then that's when Alliya is going to exist in his mind. As of right now, it's like a nickname. That's how I see it. So now he's all like, I don't know if I could be with a woman. And going back to Mahdi and Stevie, the concerns for, like, on the flip side for Shawn, he's like, I don't know if I could be with a woman and not sleep with men.
Yeah, that was disturbing. That he seems to be suggesting that if Alliya removes her penis at some point, that will be a huge issue for him, and he won't be happy in his intimate life. That condition will be removed, and then he'll be able to revert to being in an open relationship. So basically, it's almost as if he's holding that over your head. If you choose to have the gender affirming surgery and get a vagina instead of a penis, then I will be forced to go outside of the marriage or relationship to get sex, because that is the sex that I want, penis sex.
Right. And I think that that's what Maddie's worried about. They get married and then she's like, oh, I am bisexual. Yeah. So I think that's Maddie's worry. They get married and then she's not going to be satisfied because she is bisexual and
Yeah.
she needs something else.
Yeah.
And I think Shawn is really exhibiting that. And I think he's also showing, maybe his age, but he wants what he wants, and that's it.
Yes.
And he's sold this story to Alliya to get her to this point. But now it's not working out in his favor. So now he's being all flaky, and in my opinion, gross. He's not being supportive. He's not being kind. He's not being compassionate. He's not being a good partner. And I feel like Alliya wasted so much of her time with this man. The way that she brought it up to him and they were talking about her gender affirming surgery, I think she communicated that very well. I'm really proud of her for bringing it up and for saying what she did. I just don't think that it was effective.
No, it was not effective insofar as I think she was bringing up the subject in order to get confirmation from Shawn that he would stick by her if she gets the surgery or not. And she didn't get that support. I felt through that entire conversation like she was being more supportive of him than he was of her.
And even in his little interview thing, he said, she's going to support me through understanding this.
Why does she have to support you through understanding her transition? You should be understanding her transition and be there for her.
They both need to understand it separately and then come together and understand it together.
But at this point, I started asking myself, okay, well, shouldn't Shawn really be concerned with the fact that is she going to want to be with you in 10 years when she's 35 and you're 72, 73? Maybe he should think about that.
She's comfortable in her own skin.
Yeah.
And her own sexuality. He seems to, you're right, he seems to think that he has all the cards. He's got the power in this relationship, but it's because he has the money. In reality, she has the youth. So what's worth more?
And the beauty.
And the beauty and the personality and the character. And she just seems like an incredible human being. And I feel so awful for her because she could really shine. She has excellent, excellent potential. And I think Shawn is just going to bring her down, even though he also has the potential to help support her and to be there for her as she grows into her own.
Let's adopt her. Let's bring her to Canada.
Let's do it.
Okay. Reading on, our final couple is Jessica and Juan, although we don't see Juan. We just see Jessica and Megin. They go out for drinks. This is very nice that Jessica feels so concerned over her friend's unusual, and I might add unhealthy, involvement in her relationship with Juan.
Indeed.
Why does Megin need to work through all of this? She says, got to work through it. Maybe she should just step back from all of her emotional investment in Jessica and Juan's relationship and leave it at that. Like, it's not your place. But she even says to Jessica, how will I ever trust Juan again? Huh? You don't have to. It doesn't matter. You're not getting married to him.
First of all, I think this is the conversation that Shekinah needs to have with Dan. We were talking about that earlier, how she needs to have a separate conversation. So I'm really glad that Jessica made the effort to meet up with Megin to have this conversation, because in the moment, I think I talked about this last week, I was just disgusted with the fact that she didn't step in. She just sat there with that stupid grin on her face. So I'm really glad that they had that conversation. But Megan's off her rocker.
Totally. She's
hurt that she didn't know, and she's hurt that they worked through it without her, and her trust has been broken. She has this insane entitlement to their relationship and an emotional attachment to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me wonder for her stability.
Makes me think of that movie. You know, the one where the guy has an affair, but then she goes absolutely Looney Tunes and she ends up boiling the pet bunny?
No,
it's going to drive me crazy now. But anyway, Megin reeks of somebody who was just teetering on the edge. And if she gets pushed too far, she's going to end up standing in your window late at night watching you sleep.
I could see that because she does have the crazy eyes. She does. I haven't seen them as too concerning to this point, but no, you're right. No, I could see her. She's going to be the one stalking Juan around town, making sure that he's not having an affair in a tiny town of, 6,000 people?
Are there 6,000 people in
Worthington?
Wilmington? What's the place called? Don't know.
The capital of shit city.
Torrington.
I'm so glad you got that. I can see her being a meddler. I can see her just causing issues. So Megin needs to back off, and Jessica really needs to hold her own, and I don't think she will. So my prediction is Juan is going to run away.
Well, I want to see that.
Yeah, me too.
We did not see the lovely Greg and Joan this week, which was sad and disappointing. We do see them next week, though. They're going to go work out together, and he's going to announce that he has a job interview. That's fantastic.
Great.
Shawn wishes that he and Alliya could just live together without getting married. Didn't see that coming, huh?
Oh, yeah, I try to explain that to the government.
Mahdi is getting ready to propose to Stevie. Jeez, please think about it a little bit more, Mahdi. Just a couple of minutes more.
I hope he doesn't do it at home when he's surrounded by paintings of boobs.
Amani is still crying about not being the center of everybody's universe, and Mina is going to get some very startling news about Mark. Joy.
My response to that is timeline, please.
Yes, we need details, please. Anything else?
No, I think I'm good. How about you?
I am also satisfied. Thank you very much. Before we go, if you're enjoying the 90 Day Fiancé Honestly podcast, please subscribe to or give a show a follow. And if you have an additional moment, please rate us and help other 90 Day fans to find our show. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.